it's me, JP. This is it. We're doing it. We're live. This is John Park's Workshop. Hello and welcome everybody to the show. I have made a new attempt at tricking the software and the streaming into staying in sync. Be really curious if it works. I started and then stopped and then restarted the stream within about the first 5 seconds. Because lately I've noticed that when I get the stream going, it then goes out of sync and I stop and restart and then it gets back into sync. So let me know. It's going to be harder to fool YouTube than that, I'm guessing, but we'll see. So hello, you know what? First of all, let me say hello and welcome to everyone over in Discord. If you're wondering where I'm looking, I've got an iPad set up over here with Discord running on it. That was part of my attempts at stopping things from getting out of sync. Was I'm not running Discord on my actual computer that I'm streaming from, so I can't show the chat up here right now just because I don't have that launched. But hello to everyone over there, and if you're in the if you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitch, and you're wondering who am I talking to, probably it's the people in the Discord chat. Sometimes I'm able to keep an eye over on YouTube as well. But those are the main places, so check it out. You can go to adafruit.it/Discord and you'll get an instant invite, and then you can join in on the fun. I'm going to have a sip of tea. Chai. All right, so let's see. What have we got going on today? First of all, I will mention our jobs board. If you want to have a look over at jobs.adafruit.com. I encourage you to do so. That's it right there. And if you go to jobs.adafruit.com, you can see job postings, people looking to hire, as well as people posting their resumes. Here's a new one on me. I hadn't seen this. There's a community game designer position, full-time, opening with Hack Club, which is in Burlington, Vermont. Probably lovely and snowy right now, this time of year, I'm guessing. And this, the description here says, you hear a friendly dragon whisper, Hack Club is cool. If you're inclined to agree, you find yourself compelled to type the following into your terminal and learn about the open game designer position at Hack Club. sshjobs.hackclub.com. Ooh, it's kind of a fun little mystery involved in that job posting. I like it. So go check that out. That's over at jobs.adafruit.com. And it's free. Did I mention that? Let's see, what else have we got going on? I'm gonna, let's see, let me jump back to the full me there. There I am, hello. Did you know that I have a product pick of the week show? I do that on Tuesdays at this time, so if whatever time this is for you right now, except imagine it's a Tuesday. For me, that's 1 o'clock Pacific time. It's 4 o'clock Eastern time for that show. The show is JP's product pick of the week. And my product pick this week was the LTC 4311, which is an I2C extender and terminator. And I'll give you a little recap version of that show. Check it out. It's the LTC 4311 Active I2C Extender and Terminator. It is really useful when you want to run any of our Stemma QT peripherals a long distance from your microcontroller. Behind me there on the wall is one of our little Stemma QT light sensors. That is running over a 50-foot length of Ethernet cable running to our little Terminator here, the LTC 4311. And then that's running into a little cutie pie. And I'm going to turn off the lights here. So now you'll see we're down to 6.25 lux. It's the LTC 4311. That is my product pick of the week. Yeah, that was it. So go check those out. Also, something interesting I found out, C. Grover in our chat was looking at the data sheet, and it seems that you may actually be able to extend your I2C distances even further by using 2 of those active terminators. It's in the spec sheet. It says that it should be able to boost the current and give you a nice square signal instead of the slewed signal that you get over a longer run because of resistance and capacitance. So I haven't tried that yet, but I wonder, could you get a couple 100 feet of Ethernet or a Cat5 cable to run to your sensor? It's worth a try. All right, let's see, what's up next? I'm going to throw my glasses so I can see this because it's the MakeCode Minute. All right, so for the MakeCode Minute today, I wanted to look at a neat extension inside of MakeCode Arcade. So if you head to arcade.makecode.com, you can see I've made a little sample game here. It doesn't do too much, but you'll notice that when I move, I'm pressing my little virtual D-pad there, my character, this little princess, is moving on a grid instead of the fluid, continuous motion that you usually get with moving your character. This is more of a grid-based system. I've also set up so when I press the A button, or the space bar in this case, I swap positions with that snake, but I retain control over my princess character. So you can imagine this is really useful for a lot of different types of games, such as puzzle games, like Candy Crush style games where you want to move things around on a grid. And the way it's done here, I've sort of hacked together versions of this myself in the past, but now there's this extension called the Sprite Grid Extension. So what I did was I went to Advanced Extensions, added the Sprite Grid extension. I don't think you'll see it here right now because I have it loaded in. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Sprite Grid, so it shows up. When you add that, you get this new category called Grid. And inside of here, we have a bunch of useful blocks for doing things like finding out the location of something on a grid. You can set the number of column and rows on the grid. If you look at my scene here, it's pretty simple. First of all, I've created a tile map, which I believe is a requirement for using Sprite Grid. So I've created a tile map, and that's my sort of board layout you see here. Then I've created a couple of sprites. And for my character, I've set the grid placement to be on tile map column 2, row 6. So when I restart this, you'll see that that's where I pop up, X and Y, 2 and 6. I snap the character to the grid, and then I use this grid move with buttons. So anytime I move, it just jumps to another grid, which is more than 1 pixel. It's probably 16 pixels or something like that in this case. And then I've also placed my other character on top of a different grid position, and then I'm using this neat swap button press so that I can swap Sprite 1 with Sprite 2 just by pressing the space bar. So that is my MakeCode Minute for the week. It is how you can use the Sprite Grid extension inside of MakeCode Arcade. And that is your MakeCode Minute. I saw in the some of the chat about that over on forum.makecode.com that one of the community members was building a Frogger type of game, a Frogger clone, and found this to be incredibly useful. There's a lot of depth to it that I haven't explored yet, so look at some of the other blocks that you get inside of that extension. It's pretty fully featured. All right, well, now let's have a look at my MakeCode Arcade game pick of the week. It's a very MakeCode Arcade full show today. So I found this one in forum.makecode.com inside of the arcade channel. It is called the Escape the Castle game by Josh. And if I jump over to the simulator here, let me remove that overlay. Game loads up, and here we can see we have a little prison escape or castle escape game. Looks like I'm inside of a jail of some kind. I've started a timer here. The only place to go is this toilet, it looks like, and woo, I've fallen down the toilet. Here it is. Get ready for this. This is my favorite feature. I can't move because I can't get past this, but if I press the down key, whoop, we become this teeny little version of the character, and I love that so much. So the rest of this is a sort of wall jumper platformer. There are things to avoid, there are coins to get, so you can increase your score. But I thought that was a really cool one. You should check it out. If we minimize the simulator here, we can go in and have a look at how the game is made. So One thing I would recommend, something I like to do often with these, if the game is kind of hard, and this one isn't too hard, but I want to see the ending, so you can take a look at how velocity is handled. Velocity on Y is usually how things like gravity are handled. If you set that to a non-zero value, you can sometimes just fly around the scene and check things out. So that's my sort of hack tip, is if you want to play the game in sort of a super cheat mode, you can adjust how the move with buttons works. Here's one clue right here. If you look at usually in the start block, if it's set up that way, you'll have a move sprite with buttons, Vx 100 and Vy, that's velocity on Y, is set to 0, which is usually fair and correct, but if you set that to a positive value, you should be able to move around with the buttons. So that is my arcade game pick of the week. It's called Escape the Castle, and that is by Josh over in the MakeCode forum, so go check it out. All right, let's see. What have we got next? Let's pop that back up. So for the project this week, I actually am doing an extension on the project I started last show, which was before Thanksgiving. I had done the quote board for the MagTag, which was pulling Adafruit quotes from the Adafruit quotes server. But I mentioned during that, I hadn't written it yet, but I mentioned that I wanted to set up something to use the Reddit quotes. So Reddit, if you're not familiar with it, is, the front page of the internet. But Reddit has a lot of these subreddits or sub-forums, which contain things like quotes in their postings. And there's a really popular one called Showerthoughts, which is sort of musings that people have while they're taking a shower. And the API for Reddit allows you to ask for a JSON file related to any of the subreddits. So our Showerthoughts JSON file, you can do things like ask for the top entries and limit it to, say, 10. You can ask for the hottest entries. You can ask for the newest entries. So maybe we'll take a look at that. The API allows you to do a few different things. I'll show you a sort of sanitized and safe version, which is actually not from Showerthoughts, but from Clean Jokes, which is a fairly popular subreddit which has clean jokes. I just switched out the code so that we would show that and not show any untoward things coming from Showerthoughts. But you're only going to see the question and not the answer to these jokes. So it's actually kind of a fun, surreal thing. I may leave this up. It's fun to have around the house, which is, here you'll see it, it's refreshing now. What happens to a turtle when it dies? Well, we'll never know because I'm not currently displaying the answers to those. But I will show you how we can find out, and not just by going to Reddit and finding out. Of course, you could also set this up so that it, after a while, displays the answer to that by swapping out the source of that JSON file filter that I'm using. But let's take a look, first of all, at the... oh, that's surreal. Andy Calloway says, only the turtle knows. I like that. That's mysterious. Let's take a look at the code that I'm running on there right now. So let me head over to Atom. And I can keep that, we can keep the quote board in the background there as sort of a reminder of what's going on. And let me just expand my code window here a little bit. So bear with me one second. And okay, so hopefully you can read that well enough. I'll explain some of what's going on in here. And first of all, by the way, there's a question over in the Discord chat from user DCD. Do you have any difficulty connecting and staying connected with the internet using the MagTag? I have had good luck with it. I'm using it actually. I'll give one caveat. I have a mesh-based Wi-Fi router in my house, and I have a hard time connecting to that. And I think it's because one SSID shows up, but it can represent 3 different routers, and that causes delays for connection, so I have to up the connection times. I set up a separate router that's just a straight sort of normal Wi-Fi access point, and I have much better luck with that. Same with here in my workshop. I have a more normal type of setup, and so I don't have any problems connecting, and I haven't had any disconnection problems. These things are continuously being improved in newer versions of the MagTag library, requests library, CircuitPython. So you'll want to update pretty frequently if you run into any problems. And if you run into real problems, please file a bug report. So now taking a look at the code here, hope that answers that question. The first thing I'm doing in here is importing the time library, just because I want to be able to count off a minute between, or 30 seconds, or however frequently I want to refresh this. And then I'm importing the MagTag library. So you can probably tell we're handling a whole bunch of stuff under the hood, like display, access point connection, scraping and reading the JSON file, displaying text, displaying images. There's a whole bunch of stuff there that we can do with more low-level libraries. Not that low-level, but the MagTag library is this sort of Uber library that makes it easy to talk to a lot of those functions with some simple commands. So another question, actually, DCD also asks, I'm sorry, no, not DCD. Hi, DCD. You say thanks. You're welcome. Adam says, what are the refresh rate of the MagTag e-ink displays? Refresh, it's an interesting question. If we do partial refresh, it can be just like a second or two. If we do full screen refresh, it takes a few more seconds than that. You can see it, mine refreshing. There's a 4-color, and it's refreshing pretty quickly once it goes into its refresh routine, maybe 4 or 5 seconds. But the manufacturers recommend that you don't actually refresh it more than once every minute or so. I think a minute or 2 minutes maybe for the 3-color display. And that's just so you don't break the display. There's sort of a certain number of times you can refresh it, and you can run into that if you're refreshing every 5-10 seconds. So look in our guides, look in the data sheet. There may be some more info about that, and hopefully we'll have a better answer in the main guide for MagTag. All right, so next thing here, we have a data source variable that we've set up, which is the URL that we're going to check out our subreddit in this case. So here I have this Reddit clean jokes hot.json and a limit of 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that right now and show you in the browser what happens if we go there. So let me switch over to this view here. So if I just go to that address, you'll see this is what the JSON file, the raw JSON file looks like. So that is a bit difficult to read for our purposes. The MagTag loves it because it's a well structured file. It can go in and find what it needs. But for us, I'm going to use a free online JSON file viewer that has a tree mode that I like. This is countwordsfree.com JSON viewer. And here you can see I've pasted the URL in here, and then I hit load, and it goes and it finds that JSON file, and then it's displaying it here in a tree view. So you can see the top level, it's just saying JSON. Data is the next level. And then within data, there's a children tree. And if I open up that children tree, you can see, let me close some of these, we have 10 entries. And that's because I told the Reddit API to give me a limit of 10 entries. So if I look at one of them here, let's open up, this will be the second of this list of the hot entries on Reddit. This is the second one, so entry 1, it's indexed to 0. And then within that level of the hierarchy, we have this data level. And if I open that, we'll see here's the bulk of everything. So it tells us all of these are sort of data keys where we can say, tell me the answer to what is the subreddit, and it'll answer clean jokes. What is the author is listed down here. Let me actually use my find to find author. There's a few things named author. So author full name, author premium, author flare, flare type, sodomicity, nice name. So that's the author. If I look at the, what is it, the quote? No, the title. So the title is the other thing I'm grabbing. Title is, I submitted a 16 by 9 picture of my farm to the photography contest. So on this Reddit, that's the structure. The title is the sort of start of the joke, and then the self-text, which I think is the body of a Reddit entry, is the answer. So in this case it was, they didn't like the crop. And in fact, we can probably find, if it hasn't been moved out of the hot list yet, we can probably find our turtle joke in here. Let's look. No, not yet. So this, the way the hot works is that it's based on user upvotes. So those will change over time. But this one's still in here. It's number 6. And so the question was, what happens to a turtle when it dies? And the answer was, it goes into rigatortis. Woo! That's bad. I'm a dad, so I like dad jokes. So that's what that JSON file's doing. Now, if we go back and look at the code that we have here in Atom, we go and we specify data source. I have a variable called quote number, and I'm going to use that to just go through and grab numbers 0 through 9. So I'm just sort of looping those. Every minute that we go and grab a new one, we're going to grab the next one until we loop back up to the beginning. And depending on the subreddit, that may give you a nice variety because the hot list changes throughout the day as things get upvoted. So quote location, you can see this is that same hierarchy that I looked for in that tree view. We have data, underneath that is children, underneath that is a number, so 0, 1, 2 will be which entry in the subreddit. Then another sub-hierarchy called data, and then title, so that's the joke, and then author, that's the name of the author, which you can see here down below on my MagTag. I have that listed, the username down here in this little italics. You can see here, by the way, I designed this for Showerthoughts, so I made a little thought bubble with the Showerthoughts logo sort of modified, so this little light bulb and this little shower here, little shower head there, are meant for Showerthoughts. So you could make your own background graphic if you're doing jokes instead. The next thing we do is we set up the MagTag object, and we set up the URL with that data source and the JSON path, which is these two pairs of paths that we're looking for data in. You have a debug flag I've set to false. If you set that to true, you see a whole bunch of stuff fly by down at the bottom. I can turn that on and resave. And now what you'll see down in my serial port here is I'm going to connect to the access point. That's the first thing it does. And now since debug is on, it's giving us loads and loads of info, including, I think you'll see the full JSON file. All 10 of them, in fact, are streaming by now. While it's doing that, I think it's still preparing to do the graphics. So you should see, depending on how long the subreddit is, you'll see that show up. So I'll turn off that flag there, but that can be useful if you're having questions about your connection or the data that you're pulling in. Then I'm using this very simple magtag.graphics set background, and I'm pointing to a BMP file, and that's that shower thought bubble that I made. And then I refresh the MagTag, and that's what makes the display show up with that graphic. And then network connect, it's as simple as it gets. All it's doing is looking at the secrets.py file that's also saved on the MagTag, and it gets the SSID and access point password and uses that to connect. Oh, I need to resave after having changed that setting there. Then when we are going to display the text, I'm making 2 text objects with this magtag.addText. I also have some nice bitmap fonts on the disk, and we're telling it the wrap and the length of the number of characters we can use, the position on screen, line spacing, and the anchor point. And all those are things that you can fine-tune to get the graphic where you want. And I actually set this up to use, I believe, mostly, if not the same settings as the quote board, just so it would be easy, and made my graphic here fit both cases. The next thing that happens is I have a little timestamp variable, which I set initially to none, and that's going to be used for telling the passage of time so that we know how quickly to refresh. Just for the purposes of the show here today, I set my refresh to, you can see here, every 30 seconds. And I'll set that more to a minute or two in real use, just so I'm not refreshing the display too often. And then what happens in the bulk of the program here is if either the timestamp is set to none, which is its state when we first start, or if this amount of time has gone by. So time monotonic is the timer that starts as soon as the program starts. Or is it as soon as the MagTag is turned on? It might maintain that, I can't remember. Subtract from that the value of timestamp, and if that's greater than 30, then it's time to move on and show another quote. So then what we do is you can see here I'm iterating this quote number to be whatever it was plus 1, and then I have this modulo 10, and that's what wraps it. When it gets up to 9, the next number will be 0. So 0 through 9, 0 through 9 continuously. Then I update that quote location to include whatever the number is, same with the author location. And then the MagTag JSON path is updated with those new sort of strings of those locations, not really strings, but the JSON traversal location. And then the value equals magtag.fetch is what the command is that tells the MagTag to go grab that file, parse it, and create those two strings that we need to display. And then the exception that we have here is if there's a value error, we can get out of that gracefully without restarting. It'll just retry. We then reset the timestamp so that we start that timer going again. And then just for my own, I was checking the timings on things before. I have printing of the timestamp here so I can tell how many seconds it is between. This is 30 seconds-ish, you can see here, between these. One of the reasons I did this is that it was taking me a long time to get the data, and I wasn't sure if it was because the JSON file was huge. Actually, it turns out it was something that Scott Shawcroft, Tan-Newt at Adafruit, was working on improving the speed of that JSON file, pulling down that JSON file and reading it. And he did about a 10x speed up 2 days ago. So I was looking at these going, man, it's taking me like a minute and 40 seconds to get the next one, right, as soon as it kicked in. But my friend Toddbot said, oh, I just saw that Tan-Newt has updated with the latest version of CircuitPython, or MagTag, one of those. There's a huge improvement in the JSON. I think it was in CircuitPython. So I pulled that on, updated my MagTag, and yeah, sure enough, I had about a 10x speed up. So now it takes it about 20 seconds to pull that in and do its magic. So let me know if anyone has any questions. That's the basics, though, of pretty much using any subreddit. You can change this to Showerthoughts on your own. I'm not going to because a bunch of not family-friendly stuff was showing up earlier, and I decided to not tempt fate. But let's see, other questions in the chat. So basic black and white, Mark Gambler says, for the refresh question of refresh rates, basic black and white is taking about a second. Yeah, just over a second. Adam says he's got one that says 15-second refresh rate. So yeah, it varies a little bit, but something in those neighborhoods. Let's see, I'm gonna post that there. There you go, you can see the screen. And the other question was about the release version with the speed up, I believe. That is now in full release beta, 6.1.0 beta 2, if that's what that question was about, I think so. Wi-Fi.radio connect method to let you pick a specific access point with the same name or automatically select the access point with the highest signal strength. Ah, yeah, I knew there was some work on that. Okay, so that's what they were mentioning is now in the beta. Very cool. Yeah, so as you can tell, this is sort of hot off the press stuff. Some of it's building on previous work that we've done, of course, with things like PyPortal, the Matrix portal. Those have some similar things going on under the hood. But as this stuff improves, it kind of improves in all of it. And I hope you enjoy that. I hope you're encouraged by how simple that is to set up inside of the code for CircuitPython. I mean, if you look at this, there's not a lot to it. If you want to pull something else, let's say you wanted to go and display what the name of the Reddit is, the subreddit is that you're looking at. That stuff is all really easy to get to. So inside of any of these entries, there you go. You would just say, okay, I have a piece of text for subreddit, and I'll find a place to display that as well. So that's a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you have any other questions, but I think that's it. That's going to do it for today. I am working on a guide for this, so soon you'll be able to. Hopefully, if you've gotten a MagTag, this is the place to go and check. By the way, we get this question because it's a hot new item, so it tends to sell out pretty quickly. But if you head here, let me jump over here. If you head here to the product ID 4800, so adafruit.com/product 4800, you can see this is out of stock currently, but if you put your email address in here and say notify me, it will update that. Oh, now you've got my email address, so email me if you want. And that'll let you know the moment that we have some more back in stock. I think we're making these furiously, so they should be here. So I like this new, I haven't seen this before, this red laser cut thing. I don't know what the story is behind that, but that's looking cool. I've seen quite a few different neat designs for 3D printed MagTag signs that the Ruiz brothers have done, and now some laser cut stuff. That might be a Phil B creation. That's really cool looking. All right, well, hey, thank you so much for stopping by. That's going to do it for today. Like I said, I'll have a guide coming out soon on both the quote board and the Showerthoughts, and we'll be up to some new stuff next week. So that's going to do it. I will see you next time. I'm John Park for Adafruit Industries, and this has been John Park's Workshop. Bye-bye, everyone.